Right, I'm live. Right, welcome to my Weekly 10 show. I hope you joined me last week for my live client interview, which I did for the first time on this new platform that I'm using, which is really cool. I like it because I can play around with it. I can use different things like banners and stuff. But I hope you watched it. And if you haven't watched it, please do, because it really does highlight what I do as a coach, and more specifically, the results that my clients get from working with me. And for anybody who has any doubts or misunderstanding about what I do, perhaps, then it really will be enlightening for you to have a look at that and see, what it is that a coach actually does, and more specifically, what someone can get out of working together with a coach. So if you haven't watched that already, please do. It's on my YouTube channel. It's also available on my Facebook channel, and you can check it out now or at the end of this show. So tonight I'm going to be talking about a statement that everyone I hear quite a lot now. People say to me, I'm okay, I don't need a coach because coaching is for people who are struggling. And I've heard it a lot, and because I hear it a lot, I've decided to talk about that. And I want to ask you a question. What do Elon Musk, Bill Gates, Oprah Winfrey, Jeff Bezos, Richard Branson, and Cristiano Ronaldo all have in common? Can you all think of that? The answer's there. They all have coaches, so that's the truth of the matter. The high achievers in life all have coaches. So when we say to ourselves, I'm okay, coaching is for people who are struggling, how true is that truly? Is it genuine? Is it only for people who are struggling mentally and emotionally and can't find their way in life? And I'm okay, I don't need a coach. When all of these people I just mentioned have got coaches. So all too often, I get told by people, I'm okay, I don't need a coach. Coaches are for people who are struggling. It's a common misconception. It's a misconception that people have, which they tend to confuse with therapy perhaps or counseling, and they think it's the same sort of thing when it's completely different. And they think people who hire coaches must be struggling in some way, mentally and emotionally. And in many cases, that is the case. People are struggling in some place, some areas mentally and emotionally, and that's genuinely normal. And most of us have had times in our lives when we are struggling mentally and emotionally. That's normal. So it might be that you want to have a coach to help you break through those barriers and become much more balanced in those areas. So that's normal. So it might be the case that that's the case. But is it true for everybody who hires a coach? So when we look at things a little bit more objectively, without limiting beliefs, with a bit more of an open mind instead of a closed mind, with our fixed beliefs about what we think is going on, and assumptions about what might be going on, which we assume, from what we've heard in the past, it's a load of nonsense, it's a con, it's not real, all of those sort of assumptions that we create in our minds, that's stop us seeing things with any real objectivity. When we choose to actually see things a bit more objective, though, with a clarity about what a coach does, we tend to start seeing things a little bit different. And the truth is, how many of us in life are not struggling in some way? Think about this. How true is it that we are all okay? When people say, I'm okay, I don't need a coach because it's for people who are struggling, how true is it that we are actually really okay? The reality is we can all do better in life. We can all produce better results. We can all perform better day to day in a more consistent way. And very few of us, including the high achievers who I mentioned at the start there, can actually say that they are consistently productive at a high level every single day of their lives. That's normal for anybody. Very few of us are operating at a high level of performance consistently throughout our lives. We have ups and downs. Again, we're human beings. It's normal. So it's difficult for any of us to produce high level of performance every single minute and every single day of our lives. And that means every one of us is struggling with something at some point in our lives. It doesn't necessarily have to mean anything drastic, like a serious mental or emotional issue. It could be something within our environment, in our social life, It could be something physically that's going on with us. So there could be a lot of different things. There could be a work problem. It could be a work-life balance issue. I mean, I work with a lot of clients, professional clients who struggle with work-life balance. That means they don't get to the gym as much and things like that. They're not struggling mentally and emotionally. There are elements of that does affect them in mentally and emotionally, but they're not to the point where they need therapy. So it's a case of understanding that, we're all struggling in some way in our lives, even if it's not to the level which we're telling ourselves, I don't need help because I'm not really struggling. I can cope. I can manage what I'm doing. The reality is we are all struggling in some area of our lives at any given time. Every element of our lives is interlinked. See, we all have 6 core areas in our lives, all of us. And these 6 core areas determine how well we show up on a day-to-day basis and how productive we are on a day-to-day basis, how likely we are to achieve the results that we want in our lives, and how we succeed really in every area of our lives. And these areas are mental and emotional, which are the obvious ones, but there's also physical, social, environmental, and spiritual. And when I say spiritual, I'm not talking about religion. I'm talking about our values, our morals. If things aren't if we're in a relationship where our values aren't being met, that'll affect everything in our life. It'll affect us in an emotional sense. It'll affect us in a social sense, and so on. So everything is interlinked. And if one or more of these core areas, these 6 core areas, isn't functioning for us in a way that works for us, it'll affect us. And that means that it might even be a small percentage that energy is drained from us, but it will affect the way we perform and our work, our productivity generally in life. So if you're not performing at the highest possible level, it'll be one of the more of these areas that's influencing how you show up generally in life. So now, if you're struggling physically, it'll affect you mentally, and if that's affecting you mentally, that'll affect you emotionally, and so on. It'll impact every area of your life. So if you're not feeling as good as you should be physically, then you'll go to work and you won't be producing the work that you want to. You might feel uncomfortable in your environment, and so on. This is all interlinked. So coaching actually helps you break down all of these different areas and find balance among all of these different areas so that you're always at a consistent level of performance and you're always producing your best work, you're showing up in the best way you can possibly show up. That's what coaching does. It helps us always perform at a level of consistency, which is good for us, which is productive. That's why the high achievers always hire coaches, because they want to be staying at a level of performance which is optimal for them, so that they're continually producing the results that work for them. So instead of focusing on a problem, they want to be finding a solution so that they can continually keep moving forward with their lives and creating the things that they want from their lives. That's what a coach does with a client. It helps them work out what's not working and find solutions to those issues. And that's exactly why these people hire coaches. So when we look at things from a low level of energy, which is defined by either victimization or conflict driven mentality, we tend to only see problems. We'll only ever see what's wrong with a situation. And there's a lot of that around in society today. People just focusing on all the problems that are in society and what's wrong, never on the opportunities that are presenting themselves in front of us or the solutions that we can use to move us forward in one way or another. And if we're focusing only on a problem all the time, the likelihood of us ever seeing a way forward in our lives is reduced, because we're not seeing those opportunities. Again, it comes back to the argument, I'm okay, I don't need a coach. Again, you're focusing on a problem because you're telling yourself it's for people who are struggling, and I'm not struggling. That's what you're really telling yourself. So if you're focusing on things from a low level of energy, you're never going to be seeing a solution in your life. So we judge, we criticize, we find fault with things, reasons why we shouldn't do things, reasons why we should avoid and move, criticize things and say, oh, it's a lot of nonsense, make an assumption about that. And those people who tell you that they are okay are also the people who are probably struggling the most in their lives, who are struggling to find the balance in all of those different core areas that I mentioned, and actually being able to move forward in a way which creates the success that they want from their lives. Because one or more things going on, which is draining their energy. So they're always playing at a very mediocre level and never really, moving forward or creating the things that you want. They're settling for life instead of really embracing it and creating what they want with it. So when really it's those people who are struggling. So the ones who are conflict driven, frustrated all the time, stressed all the time, angry, feeling victimized, they're the people who tend to tell you that I'm okay, I don't need a coach. And that's why it always makes me laugh when people do say it to me, because, as soon as someone says that to me, I'm telling myself, actually, you do need a coach, but you just can't see it. Only thing is, you can't tell someone they need a coach because they've got to come to that decision themselves. Otherwise you're just being pretentious and whatever else. But it does amuse me as a coach when people do say that, because it just shows that they've got a very limited perspective and fixed ideas. And if you're going to be successful working with a coach, the first thing you need to have is an open mind. Because if you're coming into the process working with a coach with a very closed mind and perspective and seeing it only reasons why it won't work, the likelihood is you won't do the work yourself. That means you won't move forward. So, but if you do come into it with an open mind, with a commitment to actually doing the work and actually moving forward, everything is possible for you. So the question really is, how many of us are truly okay? Rather than saying how many of us are struggling, how many of us are truly okay? And more to the point, what can you do to be better than just okay? Because are you happy living your whole life just being okay when you've got the ability to create whatever you want? Personally, that's not me. I wanted to be the best version of myself, so I've worked hard to identify the things that I need to work on to become the best version of myself. I'm never going to be perfect. None of us will. But we can work on ourselves consistently and help ourselves move forward in different areas, those 6 core areas I just mentioned, so that we're always at a level of performance which is working for us, so that it's optimal. And when you do that, you start creating things. You start seeing opportunities to move forward. You start taking those opportunities, and things just doors open for you that you never believed would be possible before. I mean, my story is evident of that. Anyone who doesn't know my story, you can check it out on my either Facebook, YouTube, or whatever, and you can see for yourself. But the high achievers that I mentioned at the start, the Elon Musks, the Richard Bransons, and all of these people, they're the ones who know the answers to this question. When you answer the question, what can you do to be better than okay? And the answer's there. They all have coaches, because they know that a coach holds them accountable to do the work to be more than okay. And if you're looking to be more than okay, then I would suggest you look into it with an open mind, and rather than limiting yourself to a perspective which just holds you back and keeps you stood still in life, open your mind up and ask yourself, what areas in your life can you improve on? That's the question here. And I've just written it there because I like to play around with little things. So ask yourself that question. Which areas of your life could you improve on? And if you're looking to improve in these different areas in your life and you think that you can move forward, then get in touch. And if you're watching me on YouTube, again, I've just pressed my little banner there. Please subscribe to my YouTube channel, because it helps the algorithm show more people my shows, and it helps grow my channel, but it also helps other people. So if you do watch it on YouTube tonight, this is streaming on YouTube as well as Facebook. Please take a moment and just like and subscribe, because it does help people see my show. And I hope that's helped some people see coaching in a different light, and perhaps consider hiring a coach yourself. Have a wonderful evening, and next week I'll be back with another client interview, so tune in then. All right, have a great evening, and goodbye.